All right, everybody, welcome back to Atomic Cycle Works, home of the motorcycle seats, some paint work, questionable life choices, and definitely not enough caffeine. So today we're going to be tearing into two king and queen seats. This one here we already did. We kind of went with the bait style theme, keeping it old school and rustic. The problem is, if you watch our previous videos, our customer actually put a big metal hump in here instead of letting us foam it, and now he feels like his back is getting beat to shit by an MMA fighter. We're going to cut this part, get rid of the metal, put it in foam. He also wants to go back up, which is a common problem we're having with Richie. He always sees what he wants. He wants a low profile seat. He knows what he wants, but then he gets on the bike and he can't ride it. So he wants it a little bit thicker, a little more comfortable, a lot more comfortable, so he can ride it. And this one here, we're actually going to swap it over to white with burgundy stitching. And actually, both of these are going to be white, so it's going to be like surgically clean, a dental office. We're going to do this white with burgundy stitch, and he wants to reuse these studs. So I'm hoping these are not clamped on studs and they're actually drawn in studs. So while I'm pulling these seats apart, I'm going to actually go through some of our history. We're going to go back to some of the Orange County days, back when we were doing seats and we were dealing with Rowe Machine and they were doing the TV show and we were doing some stuff with them. Kind of go over a little bit of history. I don't want to bring it up beat it like a dead horse, because I actually feel, I don't hate, but I don't like watching people trying to relive the past. We're going to go through and just tell a little history that people didn't know about us. So get ready. Don't buckle up because we're on bikes. That would be stupid, but just get ready. Let's get going. This one here is for a good customer, Richie. We've done a lot of seats for him. He builds a lot of really cool vintage style choppers, and I love them. You know, even though you see us do a lot of the Harley touring seats and a little bit of everything, I love motorcycles. For me, when I grew up, my dad was riding choppers. I got to sit on them. He would, take me for rides around the block on them. So I always have this sentimental feeling towards choppers, and it's just kind of how it is. As you heard, he put this in metal. Now it's killing them, so we got to get rid of that. So we're going to tear this apart and show you exactly what it happened. Seat cover with only a couple rides on it. Garbage. With this torn down, you can see this is all metal. So if you're going to ride this around a couple of times, your new best friend's probably going to be a chiropractor. Listen, guys, I get it. A lot of us would rather have a lazy boy, Barker Lounger, ride that around, but it doesn't look cool. So some guys like Richie like cool looking seats. Cool, comfort, man, you got to sacrifice at some point. Let's jump on tearing down the second seat. This one is riveted on. See those rivets? We got to drill all those out. So I need to go get a screw gun and a drill bit. All right, and on to seat number uno dos, 2. Here we go. I cut this thing off. We're peeling the cover off, and what I didn't even realize is these snaps, or these studs, are actually just snaps, which is crazy. So they're just basically boat snaps. I have not seen them like that before. They're usually nice studs, but you can see they're kind of caved in like a boat snap machine would do. So we're going to pull this cover off, see what's underneath it. And he's getting white. And if you ask, does white get dirty? Yes, it gets dirty. It gets dirty really fast and really easy. Some of the only times you'll hear me say if you're doing white, you probably should go with vinyl is because it's easy to clean. And sometimes if you neglect your leather, it gets too hard to clean. So keep that in mind. All right, so if you are new to our channel, I'm Eddie Barrett. This is Atomic Cycle Works, and I've been doing seats for a long time, like 30 years. I've done seats. We do seats from cruisers to choppers to touring bikes to sport touring bikes, brat style cafe races. We are just a very versatile seat shop. I love all bikes. I love the factory ones. I love the custom ones, and it's just something, it's kind of when it's in your blood, it's in your blood. We've been around for quite a few years doing this. You know, I've seen trends come and go and come and go. It's a very popular thing in this motorcycle industry, and one of the things that is cool is the resurface. Well, I won't say resurface. For some of you, it's a resurface because it's getting back in. For us, we've been doing these the whole time. There's always a niche. You know, there's always the diehard guys building the old school choppers, and when it's not cool, they're still doing it. You know, just like the baggers. When the baggers first came in, everybody got involved. A lot of people jumped ship, and there's still a lot of diehard people doing that. The sport touring bikes, the cafe racers, the brat style, like everything has its peak and comes down, and when it comes back, it's pretty cool. And I actually love when it comes back, because right now, some of the brat style race bikes influenced mergers that they're doing in Germany and Japan are badass. They're just so stinking cool. And then you look at Waltz Hardcore, the stuff that guy's doing. I remember back in the day when they were doing all the bike build-off stuff, he was there. Now he's building these like cafe racer things. I seen one shot of his shop, and he had like 300. I think it was like the BMW boxer motors. Is it boxer motor? Whatever they're called for the bikes. Like just a million of them. And he's building this badass shit. It's just really cool to see that. And now I'm actually digging we're actually going to do a t-shirt, and it's going to have the old school choppers, the newer choppers for some of us, which are actually old school now. Because what's funny is they're taking those 90s choppers now and redoing them. But what they're doing to them is modernizing them, cool custom paint jobs, switching things out. A lot of the trends now, they're bringing back billet, which is crazy, but they're bringing back billet to a new level. It was like ball milled, and now they're doing machine, digital, cool stuff. So it's really cool to be in this business and see the ups and downs and all the trends come and go. For, like I said, for a lot of you, it's a trend. For us, this is our life. So we get to see diehard people doing this throughout highs and lows. And I'll always remember one of my friends had said to me, and I go, you know what? We should have been smart like some of the other guys and just cashed out when the bike business was going under and done something else, because it went to its peak and then it crashed hard. And for a lot of us who stayed in this business, who it's not really a business to us, it's our way of life. It's what we do. You know, we stayed in it and watch it crash and fumble, and it just is taking forever to get back up to where it used to be. You know, some people say it was like really high and that's where it was at. Those are the people who just got in the business. The bike business was always been here, you know, and then all of a sudden for a short time it went way up here. And then for a year, everybody's like, oh, this is it. 2 years, this is it. And then it goes kind of back down to where it was, maybe a little bit below. No, it's below where it was, but it's the same thing. So for some of us who love bikes and are in this, it's just how it is. For other people who jumped in at the high time thinking they're going to be the next Jesse James or any of those pro builders, they're, it's a rude awakening for them. Speaking of the old days, I was going to tell some stories about back in the day when we actually dealt with some of the companies that were kind of just in that explosion. It was kind of neat to see that. You know, the Roger Bourgetts, all the different places, the Orange County Choppers and those guys. And it was neat to be up here in the Northeast when all that was going on. You know, obviously we got to see Jesse James and Matt Hotch and all those cool people doing really cool shit back in the day. And that was really neat. But for us up here, it was kind of neat because we're a smaller niche market. And so we were actually doing work. I think I actually met Chuck from Rowe Machine originally because we were doing hot rod stuff for him. We got kind of well known for our motorcycle seats, and it might have been around the same time. But anyway, we started doing seats for him, and it was cool. And he had his in with Orange County Choppers. He actually said he wanted to get us in. Oh, phone's going off. Lewis is sick today. 807. So he was like doing work for Orange County. He asked us if we wanted to do stuff. And back then, everything was free. And you know what? Now you sit there and say it's probably worth it. But I was more or less, we did a lot of TV shows. We did a lot of free stuff, and free doesn't pay the bills. So you could go out there and do Two Wheel Tuesday and all this other stuff for all these bike builders and not get paid for it. They might mention your name. They might not mention your name, but they're always just kind of looking for something for free. So I was not feeling it. So I said, I'm not doing free work. If they want to pay, they pay. If not, whatever. And that was kind of the gist of it. But it was a great experience. And what ended up happening, which really backfired to Rowe Performance. I was a Rowe Performance. I always get them confused. There's one guy that makes really cool frames and parts up in New Hampshire, I think it is. And then there was the guys in Wallingford, Connecticut, who made the wheels. And we dealt with the wheel guys for a minute. They decided they wanted to build their own stuff. And I guess there was something happened where they weren't content doing the wheels for Orange County Choppers. And they found out that they were going to build, I think it was a Jägermeister trike. I think Jägermeister's here in Connecticut from what I remember or was. And they were going to build a trike or a bike for them. Orange County was. And Chuck went over and tried to steal it. He wanted to steal the show, tell them they could build it, they could do it, and all this other stuff. I believe Orange County found out, which obviously they're going to. And that was pretty much the end of them. They pulled the plug on it. I remember it was something about they were building a Cobra or a bike with Cobra wheels, and then Orange County ended up going somewhere else or doing their own wheels or whatever it was. They really kind of cut their own throats. So they wanted to start their own TV show, and they did. They come up with the money for the production company to start filming celebrity rides or celebrity build. And so we did, I think, like 11 or 13 episodes with those guys. And unfortunately, it wasn't a good time for me because at the same time that this show was being filmed and we were filming and it was starting, you really have to prioritize your life. And my life always is family first and then work. And so at the same time, my father had fallen 4 stories on his head and was in the ER for 2 months in a coma. It was not a good time. And I remember I've been over backwards for Chuck all the time. He's a very demanding person. And we got some seats done for him. And they had made a seat pan themselves. Well, actually, they had Kevin Kerr from Planet Hot Rod make a seat pan. And they gave it to us. We foamed it. We wrapped it. We gave it back to them. And the seat didn't fit. We didn't make the seat pan. We foamed it and wrapped what they had. And it was literally like a quarter of an inch, not even, it was like an eighth of an inch. The seat had to be adjusted to go forward. And they have a giant machine shop, all these people. And so we're in the hospital. They're talking about, is my father going to make it? They got to do surgery next to his brainstem, all this serious stuff. And then Chuck starts calling over and over and over and over and over. And I said, I'm, in a thing here. He goes, you got to do this. This is important. I'm like, this is important. This is fucking important. Your motorcycle seat for a photo shoot that you have to move the thing an eighth inch forward or whatever. I said, you're big bad bike builders with all this shit, all this equipment, all this tools, all this TV, and you can't figure out how to move a seat pan an eighth of an inch forward. And so I said, that's it. Leave me alone. I'm trying to deal with this shit right now. Kept calling. Then he has his brother call. His brother calls and says, I'm very sorry for Chuck's behavior. But he's still calling me in the ER with it's just insanity. I told him to take the seat and shove it up their ass. I'm done with them and their stupid TV show and bullshit that they were dealing with, because it really, to me, it was insane. And I know it's important and there's time deadlines on there, but the way you treat people, the way you deal with people, and the way you handle business is, to me, dictates who you are. And the only thing that they dictated was that they were dicks. Didn't like it, didn't enjoy it. It was a very horrible time. And actually, you know what? I should rewind a little bit before to put more context into the story. So as they got kicked off of Orange County Choppers, and they weren't doing the wheels for them or parts for them anymore, one of our good customers, Bob Cazzini from Cazzini Customs out in Rhode Island, was building cool bikes and cool cars. He was building them for players for the Boston Red Sox, New England Patriots, people that wanted cool stuff and paid their bills, right? And so before this had happened, I had told Chuck, I said, listen, why don't you work with Bob? He's going through all these other wheel companies, and you're right here. You could build wheels, get paid for them, go through him, put them on really cool, sick stuff, get paid for them. And he's like, no. Turns out Bob's building a bike for the New England Patriots, and we're building a bike for the New England Patriots, and we don't want that, it's a competition to him. Well, the difference was Bob was building a bike for the New England Patriots that was getting paid for it. It was a real bike, a legit bike. I think it was the one we did for Adam Vinatieri when they were winning all their Super Bowls. It was a pretty good time for the Patriots, back to back. And we ended up, he was building a bike, but it turns out he wasn't building a bike for them. He was building a bike out of his pocket and then wanted to debut it up there and hoping they would see it and then think he's this big bad bike builder and pay all this money. Every step of the way, it just turned our stomach, because I remember we had the bike and he wanted the seat on it. He wanted to do pigskin with embroidery and tons of all this other stuff and go crazy on it. And I'm like, the bike's clean, it has so much going on. Let's just do an actual, NFL football leather, the pigskin on it with the laces, just like that. And let's leave it alone and not put a bunch of shit on it. He's like, no. I got to do this. I got to do that. We have to have all this busy. I'm like, trust me. And I remember we get it, the thing, all of a sudden we're here and we're listening we had the radio going and PLR comes on and they were at some event and they were going over the bike. And it cracked me up because he was such an me type of guy that it was kismic, because they were talking about the bike, but then they kept going back to the seat and saying how they loved the seat and it was cool. And then he would divert them back to the bike and then went back to the seat and took credit for it, saying, yeah, I didn't want to go over the top, do too much embroidery, do too much crazy stuff. I wanted to keep it simple. And I was just like, this guy is just never stopped. It just was him to the T, After all that, he built the bike. It was a nice bike. I was proud to be a part of the bike. It did not, I don't know if it had to have sold to someone or something at some point. But the problem is he lost a gig to Cazzini, which would have been a lot of rims that he got paid for, which would have put him on the map a lot better than building a bike that no one really knew about, And what's funny is you think about the exposure that they could have had even just doing the right thing by Orange County, because Orange County was killing it. I forgot. I remember they sold apparel at the Javits Center show. I think it's a 3 or 4 day show. And the amount of money they sold in apparel was just mesmerizing. And that's kind of showed you how huge they really were at the time. And it was pretty amazing that, a motorcycle show could actually get that involved and that good. And unfortunately, being a part of that and getting it screwed up was not good. And then even with it was funny because when we were doing the celebrity build, it was kind of new to me. So we're doing like 50 million takes for each scene, and they had the producers would come in and tell you where you're going to go. I think it was a producer, whoever they are. And it was kind of funny because they had like a closet, and the closet was a broom closet, and they wanted us to exit from that closet, and because it kind of went in scene with going to where the bike was being built and all that stuff. So we were in that closet. I bet you there was 40 takes because every time we go to get out, Chuck would forget his name or forget the lines, and it was like getting irritating. And I remember the reason why I am bald is because of that day. We literally were in that broom closet, and I looked at Chuck's hair at the time, and he had like 4 hairs standing up like spiked. And it's like, I go, oh my God, I'm losing my hair too. I can't have that. I just don't want that. So I went home, had some Captain and Coke, got a little too intoxicated, and came out of the bathroom with no hair. And that was all from that. So and I actually like it. It was great. But I owe them that thanks having my head shaved off because of that stinking broom closet. And it was actually turned out to be good times because there was stuff like Matt Light from the New England Patriots there, and they were showing them how to do a work on. They weren't spinning a fender, I don't think. They didn't have a spinner, but they were working on a fender, and he dropped on the ground. And meanwhile, has flip flops or something on. It could have cut his toes off. There's just like this crazy stuff that like you don't think about. Even I think the Adam Vinatieri, I thought he got penalized for sitting on his motorcycle for the photo shoot because those guys, they're when you're kicking field goals and you're winning Super Bowls, your feet are very valuable. And so there's like things you can't go buy motorcycles. So they got in trouble. All those guys got in trouble back then for even being within a certain amount of feet of their motorcycles, which was kind of cool to see. Took the seat covers off these 2 seats. I'm going to have to get to it. Got to get some work done. If you enjoyed shooting the shit with me, hearing some stories about the motorcycle industry and business, please come back for more. You can always like, share, subscribe, follow, ring the bell, because when you do, you're not just helping me, you're helping you because you're keeping our industry alive. And we know there's only 3% of us in the U.S. right now, and us 3% got to stick together. So make sure to like, share, follow, subscribe, ring the bell, tell a friend. I appreciate you guys.